the Stokes. We have a special treat for y'all today. Oh yeah, you know who it is. It's the man, the myth, the legend, the vibe master.
Who is that? Who are you talking about?
I don't know, but he looking extra fresh today, so I'm gonna have to gas him up a little bit. It's the extraordinary.
Wow, oh my wow!
Not to be confused with anything ordinary, but extraordinary. You know what I'm saying? It's the magnificent. Wow. Is the fantastic. Is the fabulous, like the Fab Five. That vibe.
Okay,
my guy. Will be in the place to be, ladies and gentlemen.
I was like, who is he talking about? I was just enamored with this amazing human being.
Yeah, man.
Come find out it's me.
It's you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the introduction.
I speak for the people, okay?
Oh, wow.
This is what the people send me.
That
say,
affirmation is filling me up right now. I appreciate it.
Happy birthday.
Okay, I'll put that in my pocket. I'm about to say, put that in your pocket. Okay.
You got a couple months, but.
All right.
What's up, bro?
Man, life is good.
Ain't it though?
You know what? It's a blessing to continue to see the evolution of our platform and the podcast. And today is almost like a full circle.
Big facts.
Because we have amazing guests. One of our guests was on the show in the I must call it the OG season, in the original.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Season. Back when we didn't have a Jona or a Matthew.
Oh, those are the dark days. But we are here now, and now we have them back.
Yeah.
And we have another amazing guest as well. Absolutely. Who you will introduce, but I'm just feeling good. It feels like family in the room. Yeah. It feels like love, and
it's like a family reunion.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of is for me. You know what I'm saying? At the
literally
family reunion.
Sang that thing.
Jonah's looking at me. He's like, bro, if you don't stop singing,
just put some audio effects, put some reverb and auto tune.
Auto tune on that, bro.
You're good to go.
No, but hey, if you've been rocking with the B-Roll podcast for a little while now, you probably remember a series we did, a 2-part series called A Life Transformed.
Yes,
it was like
correct.
the third and fourth episode of season 1.
Season
like
1.
Will said, the OG season.
Uno.
And it featured a certain smooth, deep voice.
Oh, yeah.
Short, dark, and handsome chocolate figure.
Uh-oh.
I couldn't say tall, dark. I ain't gonna lie to the people. They can see it now. I'm gonna say they can see it now.
He's sitting down.
He sat down. Right. He sat up straight. He's like, hey,
I got to make my knees look a little taller.
Hold on.
Bring the knees up.
You're taller than me. Okay.
Your feet's on the floor, bro. We happy for you. But we got my cousin Dre in the building. And what's crazy is this. We talked about her. He talked about her.
Yes, sir.
You want to talk about, man, who's B. Simone talking about the manifestation queen? This man manifested some things that we get to talk about today.
I'm telling you.
He is joined by.
And folks, if you have an opportunity, go back and listen to that original episode so you can get a little context, because Dre's story has been absolutely amazing. He's come a long way in the years that I've known him, and this new season. Wait
a minute.
I mean, I listened back to the interview, and I was like, yo, Drake went through some things.
Hey, I did. I definitely did.
But God. And the key word was through. He's on the other side.
You want to introduce the fourth person of this wonderful party?
It would be
she's
a
like,
pleasure.
Y'all been talking about
and an honor. I know, right? She's like, what am I? Like,
Make sure you put that magnificent on it, too.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
It's true. It is true. It's pressure because you do such a good job with the intros.
But go ahead, man. I believe in you.
It's not too difficult because the person I am introducing has such a magnificent glow, a wonderful human being, intelligent, sharp, just absolutely ebullient energy.
Help this man out.
Word.
He's getting brownie points by the word. Let's go.
She is, I would definitely say, been an amazing blessing and gift in addition to Dre's life.
Yes.
And so for her to be here is an amazing gift and a blessing to our lives as well. Shy is here. Welcome, Shy. Thank you for coming in.
Dr. Williams.
It's beneficial now.
It is
official. I was like, should I throw the title on it? Should I? Let me not slight.
It is official.
The DR. You know what I'm saying?
It's official.
In every arena now, it is not. That's how much I love this man.
Doctor.
He said, I'm gonna need you to go through all your records.
Every last
changing degrees. I'm changing IDs. I'm
dang. It's like it needs to be known.
That is
welcome, Shy. How you doing?
Glad to be here with my favorite people.
Oh, thank you. This has been a long time coming. I know you have a wealth of wisdom, knowledge, both through your educational experiences and otherwise. And so we're really excited for you to. Yeah, that's why you're here. So you can bring it to the table.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We have been trying to get Shy on from day one.
Yeah.
Day one.
And I have to say, you've been trying to get Shy on the show before I knew who Shy was.
This is facts.
So I was just like, he was like, we got to get Shy on this show. And I'm like, cool, bro. Oh, okay, cool. Like, I don't know who you were talking about.
Idea.
And then I met her and I was like, oh, I get it now.
The Lord had to work on me some more before he put me out here. Had a little more work to do.
I don't believe it at all.
Not at all.
I don't believe it. Well, real quick, we have some rapid fire questions that we would like to bring to your attention. Will, would you like to start off with the first one?
Yes, indeed. So in case the audience and listeners, watchers, and I guess however else you would consume this content, do not know, Dre. That's another sense. That's true. Feel. Dre and Shy are a married couple. And so we're going to kind of loosen up the feel in the room a little bit, just ask you guys a couple of questions.
I mean, hopefully this loosens things up.
It could do the opposite.
It could tension things up.
My hope and intention is that it loosens things up.
I do got to go home today.
You're right. You're right. We ain't gonna do you too bad. We ain't gonna do you too bad.
It's gonna be like Spades. We gotta go home together like we came together.
It's a long walk.
Just a few questions, real quick, and I guess we can have you all say the name and or point to the person that you think this question applies to. It'd be either yourself or your wonderful partner. Y'all ready?
Ready.
Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna be quick. It's quick. Just a few questions. Number one, which spouse is more organized?
Dre.
Dre took that. Okay, that was pretty agreed upon.
Dre,
okay.
you want me to keep score?
Okay. Number two, which parent is more authoritative?
Me, Shy.
Let's go.
Oh,
hey.
Shy.
man.
Dre.
I'm bleeding with Shy.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Well, somebody's putting the hammer down. Okay. All right.
In
Got you.
different
Which spouse wakes up earlier in the morning?
Shy.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
4:30 crew.
Before God.
She said before God, she's up.
Still dark.
My goodness.
Golly, she said 4:30. Okay. Okay. Next one. Who said I love you first?
Dre.
Shy.
Shy.
Got
okay.
me.
We're going to come back around to that story.
Me.
I want to know.
Yes. I was mad
Put a pin
too.
in that.
She said,
You couldn't believe he got me like that too.
Amen. If you remember, the voice works for a reason.
Oh, man. Okay.
This is
Okay.
true.
Yes,
Next
indeed.
one. Which partner is more likely to say, I'm sorry first?
Ooh.
I think it's mutual.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's mutual.
Yeah, it really
I think
depends.
it's both of us.
Gotcha.
Because we are
Who's a little
both-
more on the wrong side?
Correct. And we're honest. Like,
That's
we'll
fair.
own
Yeah.
it. We just
That's
need
fair.
space to like get our feelings a little
Okay.
bit.
Right.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
sometimes you might be a little first sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I mean,
That's because I'm being
you
the
know
bigger
what?
person. Happy wife, happy life.
There you
A
go.
little more often than not. I mean, okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, we just wanted to get a few questions out of the way. I just wanted to get a feel for you. I mean, I don't need to get a feel for you guys. The audience may want to get to know you guys a little more, and I'm sure Micah wants to formally allow you guys to introduce yourselves. But I appreciate y'all answering the questions. I learned something. 4:30 in the morning. That's
Right.
Oof.
Hey.
Oof.
4:30.
That means I go to bed
Early.
at 8:30.
That's
Okay.
explains it.
That-
You know,
yeah. I was
The
like,
Sandman hits
mathematically
me
for
fast.
years.
It hits me fast.
The sprinkles right
He
there.
really
Just
does.
Sandman just
boom.
be like, oh.
I'll be
And
good
she
at
like
8 o'clock, 8:30, man. Boom.
Gone.
I'm like that around
Knocked
10, so
out.
I understand it's
Yeah.
just shutdown time.
It
Never
really
like
does.
that.
I need to be
Never.
like that. It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm just like, we ain't
know.
tired yet.
Nope. Let me go walk.
Right. Walk it up. Do something.
Just scrolling on YouTube for
man.
hours.
I don't know. Maybe it's genetic.
So,
You want me?
yeah, go for it, man.
I was just gonna give them an opportunity because I feel like if you listen to episode 4 of season 1, you'll get an idea of how they met
Okay.
and a little bit of, I guess you could say, the pursuit process that Dre was in as he was talking about it. You know, where he was pursuing her. And bro, I'm gonna plug you real quick, but don't get a big head. All right. This man was doing some key things that he talked about in the first episode.
I think it is good to rehash and circle back.
It's mostly because in ministry, I deal with people who are like, you know, when am I? Well, I want to. And I'm like, here's a list of things you could do. Go listen to this podcast.
Do the work.
And do all the work that this man was
right.
doing. And then see what, you know, because then at least you can go before God and be like, well, I did all this.
Yeah.
Instead, people just being like, hey, where my Boaz on my root at?
Right.
And
I'm
There's
like, some actions and disciplines you should put in place.
Ruth wants some roots.
Okay.
Boaz wants some.
Okay.
Anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, there's some work you can do no matter.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, I'm actually very curious, Dre. I guess this was a couple of years ago now. I don't know if you could recount or recollect, but you did have a very disciplined and distinct process to the premarital journey and the process of dating. What do you call it? Being betrothed? Is that right?
Betrothed?
Am I using that word
Engaged?
right? Engaged. Whatever. Anyway, so that process and then and being married, of course. And so, can you talk about what your mindset was and what you were doing in preparation for building a beautiful union with Shai?
Honestly, I believe it was just primarily focused. I definitely, the rules I put in place, because I remember I used to make sure, for one, any woman I came across, the high five rule. I didn't play that. So I didn't want any, God, you see it. If they come to me, high five. How you doing? Praise God. Yes, indeed.
People thought he was the friendliest, weirdest.
Hey, there was nothing wrong with it.
Standoffish, but friendly.
Right. Couldn't be wrong. Couldn't judge it wrong.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, nobody getting church hugs. No side hug.
No side hug.
The shoulder, nothing.
No graze, no nothing. And then, definitely the biggest thing was the drive was my child. So, everything I was going through with that, I made sure my time was sacred. And I led by example by also showing my wife to be, at the time, that, hey, I take this very seriously. So if we're going to come together as a unit, this is what I'm going to show you. And I implemented those things now in our current life as well. So for one of the best reasons why we work great together is because when we stick to a routine, it is it. And we flow and it's go time. Now, mind you, even though we get our kids every other week, it's pretty much a breeze. We might have some little things that you can't really expect, and she can speak on it too, but
that's why you're the organized one, right? We have shared calendars, shared notes.
Right, exactly.
Anything changes, we're hitting that text real quick. So
it's
got to be efficient. It's too many moving pieces.
I'm family, and I got to get in like a month in advance on y'all's schedule.
You know it. Absolutely, yeah.
Everybody.
Y'all.
Not even playing it.
Everybody. We got to check the schedule and see where we're free.
Right. And so it was focus, intentionality with my children, communication being very clear, and then my prayer time. I didn't play with that.
Yeah.
I made sure that always came first. If I was busy, don't let me forget the 8:30.
The
phone shut off.
I already knew where you were going with that.
Do not disturb.
I still got it on 9 p.m. It actually moved up to 8 because
she down at 8.
Yeah, exactly. So I get my last 30 minutes with her, and I'm intentional.
That's
so I'm
good.
like, nope, this is my time. I'm home. And if I'm out past 8 p.m., then it's like when I'm ready to go home, I always know, ain't nothing stopping me from getting there because I can't look at my phone or even get no distractions.
What do you call them? Sneaky links? No
exactly.
distractions? No, none of that.
None of that.
The phone is set to.
Plus,
I don't care.
Shai cut somebody, yo. So I'll be honest.
Listen.
I told Dre straight up from day one. I said, hey, bro. Are you ready? This is
that's what I needed though. That's my roots, man. That's where I'm from.
Don't let these letters fool you. Don't let these degrees fool you.
Right.
I'm still
These
from
titles,
Jersey. I'm still from Jersey. Don't let it go.
No. And I couldn't give me a Southern Belle. I still needed me a rock, man.
There's actually not a lot of that though. So that's the good thing. We have an understanding, and like you were saying earlier, we're just executing now what we talked about before we got married. We're just walking in it.
So I'm curious to know, what was it like for you?
That was my question.
On the opposite end.
Yes.
Look at this man. He said, I'm back on the podcast. Let me ask something.
Because it's off me now.
Because I was really curious too, Shai.
Because this is the work right here. This is what I came out of it. So
Yeah.
You put a lot of work in.
Say that again.
Talk about that.
Well, let me say this, because when I first listened to the podcast, it is funny to hear people talk about you. But then when I listened to it again, each time I listened to it, I said, "This is what I fell in love with." To me, his character showed through, and that's what got me. Forget all that superficial stuff. It was his heart. It was his commitment, his discipline, his ambition. He was focused, and listen, I needed somebody focused to be with me. I don't have time for that. And that's the funny thing. He was talking about how your wife came to me, told me about it, and y'all said, like, I was asking all the questions. Everybody, you doggone right. I sure did. I had to find out about who this person was because we had mutual friends. We just didn't know we had mutual friends at the time. And I had to know, like, is he serious? Because one of the questions, I was like, how old is he? I said, hold on.
We all were like,
I said, hold on. Because I said, now, I could get past it, but I was like, I'm a whole grown I have grown people responsibilities. And you just hear the age and you think, it's a stereotype about it. But as y'all heard, that's not, he was on a whole different level. And I was like, all right, bet I could rock with that.
For the audience, you don't have to tell us how old you are, but could you guys describe the age gap?
How many 10 years older.
Yeah, it's a decade.
I'm 10 years older than Dre. Actually, 11. No, it's 9 years, 11 months.
If you want to be technical.
So initially, that was a.
It was a pause.
It was
a pause.
For a pause.
Yeah. It was. Okay. Here's the thing. There were several pauses. I'm not even going to lie, which is fine.
Yeah.
But to me, that's how you know God was on this man. I said he had to have prayed on me because.
Pray time was real.
Yes. We had very open conversations and laid all of our cards on the table. And there were a couple of things I was like, And I remember it was like either our second or third conversation. It was that real long one. We talked for like 6 hours, and it was everything. This is who I am. This is the situation. Yes, and when he was revealing some of the things that he had talked about in the podcast, there was a part of me that wanted to be like, nah, I'm good. But I really felt in my spirit was like, no. Like it's like something arrested my spirit and said, do not do that. Like I know you want to. I know you want to, but no. See where it goes. Like don't like cross them out just for that. And so I didn't, and it was worth it.
Wow.
And for the audience to know, she is the cutoff queen. You hear
They
that?
did call me that before.
Yes.
On that.
So listen, it was a hard hill to climb.
Oh man.
But I earned it.
Yeah, you did.
I put the work
yes,
in
you
and I earned
did. And to be honest, we talked a lot about your process, but I had a similar process before him. So I was divorced. And so it was about I met you about over 4 years after the official divorce, right? And in that time, the Lord wrecked me. Let me tell you, I told God, I was like, all right, you know what? I need a year to get over it. I'm gonna be good. And he was like, I'm gonna give you 3. And then I'm gonna give you 3 more. I said, look, that's not what we talked about, okay? But during that process, he had to do a lot of work in me. And I was intentional about really not opening myself up to dating for a while because I was like, no, I need to heal. I need to deal with some things that led me to where I was and not repeat that. So, and I think that's kind of what attracted us. We were doing similar things. I had a similar level of discipline. I had a similar level of focus. And then when we came together, it worked. It matched. And so, yeah, this is the fruit of the work we put in before we met each other.
That's amazing.
So by the time we came together, I think you guys had asked, like, it didn't take much time to know. It's like, we're on this page.
I mean, honestly, I could say I was in love by the time as we met in April. By July, I knew I was gonna marry her.
Cap,
really?
Bro.
How many months
it was before that.
It was before that, but you can't admit that. Oh, man.
My camera. Hey.
Oh, man.
He said the day, because I talked about it on the episode.
You guys
the
did.
day he saw her at church, he said, I found my wife.
Yes, but that don't mean I was in love. That don't mean I was in love.
She better be in love. You say you found your wife.
I mean, now look, you want to talk. People marry all the time without being in love.
Describe it for us. Yeah, what is the difference between seeing and recognizing you think you've seen your wife and recognizing I need to take the steps to make the commitment to marry Shy? What is the difference?
So honestly, I mean, because when he talks about that day, like, because like he said before, like, in the podcast,
season 1,
right? In season 1, it was hard for me to come back to church, right? And so as I kept coming, and once like I saw her and I told him about it, I just couldn't believe it. I said, it was clear as day, like she was the only person in the room, and I was like, that's my wife. I just didn't know what it felt like. It was just like, boom, there she is. And I was like, what in the world? And so it just kept coming more like, hey, just go to church so you can see it one more time.
Wow.
And then still focus on God. Because then you get to see it, maybe you might get a smile, maybe you might get a wave, you might get a bump, you might something.
A high five.
A high five, right? Something like, hey, how you doing? Because like she said before, like we were in the same circle of friends. We just never knew each other.
No. One thing that I don't think we ever talked about is how you formed a connection with her daughter too, before she really even got to know you that well, right?
Yeah.
Early on. Mm-hmm. Like, bro, God was really working in your favor.
He had to bring these situations together.
It was a watch party.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And her daughter, my daughter came up to me and she was just randomly talking to me about her book bag and how it works and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's what's up.
Chopping it up.
Right. Chopping it up like it was nothing. And
come to find out, right.
It's her daughter, right?
She's like,
right. Who is this? Right. So funny. That was good. Second question.
Yeah, and then from meeting, or at least recognizing her, I guess visually, or seeing that from that moment to when did you later decide, okay, I want to take the steps of marriage, and I guess what's the difference between the two?
So for instance, like I actually had to tell her, like, because I introduced I introduced myself like to her, and then I intentionally told her like, hey, so I want to have a conversation with you, and I stuck to my time, which she always still praised me for. I said, hey, I'm gonna call you at Wednesday. That was the first
impressive thing,
right?
My man, he called. It was like 2 minutes early, so not just on the dot, but about 2 or 3 minutes early, and I was shocked because a lot of men, in my experience, I'm not putting down all men, in my experience, just didn't hold their word. So the fact that right there was green flag immediately. He called when he said he was, very polite, and very straightforward.
Right. And so we had a conversation, and then, once we went on our first date, I pretty much said to her like, hey, I want to date you intentionally. And what that means is, so it's also clear. So it's no like hidden blemishes. I'm like, no, I'm dating you to marry you. And I knew that, and she said, okay. And so she knew my intentions right up front. Now, I know some people can't say that because there's certain windows and doors you got to break down and barriers and stuff like that. Yeah. But the kind of conversations we were having, I kind of knew everything I needed to know to kind of just go forward.
Yeah, I think we were clear that if at any point we didn't see marriage in the future, then that was it. We're gonna stop. We're not gonna force this.
Right, and we weren't going to date. I was like, no, like we can just be friends because I'm not wasting my time.
Date to marry or not.
Right, pretty much. That's how it was, because it's like then you're just like someone else, and I'm like, that's not what I wanted.
Right,
I wanted a wife, and so it's like I chose you. I'm dating you.
Man.
Period.
So I appreciate that he was serious about it.
I'm just so astounded by how intentional and deliberate you were. Well, each of you were. And obviously, as I know we keep referencing back to season 1, but we got to hear you describe this process several years ago. But I'm so captivated by the fact that you, Shai, were actually undergoing a similar process and had already put similar things in place. So I could think, if I were in your shoes, or if I were in either of your shoes, if I was doing what I was doing and I approached someone who wasn't on that track of discipline, that probably would kind of not mesh. Like that may be probably a challenge or an issue. If
I think it had been probably, and I can't speak for him, but now mind you, I'm not someone that had dated a lot. That was not, I'm an introvert. I'm going to be in the house. So you'd be lucky if I met anybody. But I had my mind made up, and that was important to me. I knew what I wanted, because when you know what you want, you're not going to waste time on what's not it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, if you know what kind of car you want, you're going to go to the dealership. Either they have it or they don't. If they don't, you're walking out. You're not going to talk to me about something else. That's not what I want, right? So I'm not wasting time. Because like I said, I was already in my mid-30s when I met him. I didn't have time. We're not doing this. I'm too old for this, right? And the thing that was different about me by this time was I was going to walk in my true self. Before, when I was married, I made myself someone else to fit what someone else wanted. And I voluntarily did that. This time around, I'm like, no, you're going to get all of me, full me, right? And by society standards, I would have had a hard time finding a husband. If you think about it, I was 35.
Tell us about that.
35, divorced, had a daughter. I'm not the slimmest, okay? I had cut my hair by this. I had a lot of cut it all off because it was easier. Most people would be like, this chick is not finna get a man. But I was like, I have to get someone. This is who I am. I'm not going to change it. I like hoodies. I'm not finna wear a whole bunch of makeup and heels. That's not me. So I needed someone that was going to accept me for who I was.
Gotcha.
And we just didn't have a lot of that superficialness, right? That was not the attract. Now, mind you, we're attractive people. Don't get me wrong. Now, my husband is fine. My husband is fine. That is the cherry on top, but that's
was
not.
Tore up, I wouldn't claim you.
Look, that's not what drew me to him.
Oh my goodness! Stop.
It was a lot of it was his honesty and his openness, but. And it's not just that. It was his commitment to, I could tell what he was willing to do. Meaning, if stuff got hard, I know he's going to work it out. He's not going to run. We're going to sit. We're going to talk about it. We're going to be open. And that's what we set up. And we were committed because we are like, we wanted something different for our kids.
Right.
And that was a lot of what we built a foundation. I mean, God, of course, was the first. But the other part of it is like, we want a different history for them. We messed up. We made mistakes. This is kind of our redo. We don't even want them to have to do a redo. We want them to get it right the first time, but we need to be the example for them.
So I have a question I want to ask you guys. I have experienced the single life, have single friends, and there's a topic of conversation that often comes up, and the topic is compatibility. And so people who are single, who are looking for someone, they are deciding who they want to pursue or spend time with based upon who they think they're compatible with. I was hoping y'all could tell us, I guess it's a two-part question. One, how do you all define compatibility in your relationship? And two, are you all compatible with each other?
Okay. Well, I might let her answer question one.
Okay.
I'll answer question two.
Listen, we're going to figure it out.
Teamwork.
Because I'm going to forget by the time.
Right. I got it.
Repeat. I can repeat.
I got it.
What was the question?
That part. Oh, I thought.
No.
I'm going for. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll answer it this way. I had mentioned earlier that I knew what I wanted, right? So people talk about this list and whatever.
The list, the old
list.
Right.
Just know what you believe you want, right? And God's going to give you what you need, first of all. Okay, so have at least some idea of what you're working off of and what's really, really important, right? Because we can have things on a list, but they're not all priority, right? There were some things I was like, oh, but that wasn't at the top. And I had to reorganize that, right? So know that part. Like I said, if you know what you're looking for, then you're not going to try to waste your time. And then get out. If that ain't it, get out. Right? People think compatibility is all about how much you have in common, right? What's similar. You have to have what's important in common. But there's really no one formula. And that's the one thing. Right. You have to do what's for you in your life. Okay? Because what I would have thought that I wanted or needed was not Dre. There were certain things about, I was like, I wouldn't date somebody like that. And here I am. Right? I told you, the age and some of the things that you guys have talked about before. His son was actually young at the time. I was like, that might be messy because, when kids are younger, that co-parenting could be a little messier. I was like,
If you don't know, baby mama.
Right. So what worked for us is when we got down to it, we were compatible on our values and our beliefs, right? We believed in God. We believed in God as a foundation. We valued family. We valued communication and being open and direct about things. Like, we were not hiding anything. We were all on the same page about that. But we're different in a lot of ways. Like we talked about, I get up early, Dre's up late. I'm horrible with directions. He could get anywhere. Like, he just knows. He does it one time and he could listen, I have to go somewhere 10 times before I even have some sort of idea. Right? I write well, so if there's emails or something that needs to go out, I'm usually the one doing. So we complement each other.
I believe that.
Right. So where I'm strong, he may not be as strong in. Where he's really strong at, I absolutely am not. And so we complement each other. So in those ways, we may not be compatible, but we work because at the end of the day, we're working toward the same goals and we're coming from a similar foundation. Right. Wow. So it's really important how you define it. People get too caught up in it having to look and be one way, and you have to do what works for you.
And I catch too how she stated my intentionalities before I started pursuing her was exactly what now my foundation is in our marriage, which was focus, intentionality with family, and my time and our prayer life. And so I thank God that it was able to align with what exactly she wanted. So the full circle story is it all worked itself out. And I love that. Now, to answer your second question, what we have in accountability between us?
Between each other.
Honestly, yes. Like she said, our goals are lined up. We want the best for our kids, no matter what.
That's beautiful.
You know,
We definitely try to set them up.
Right. Definitely trying to set them up, and so they don't make the same mistakes that we made. And, you know, honestly, building that generational wealth, if you want to say.
And we value time together.
Right.
Right.
So growing up, I grew up as an only child. So I knew how much family was important to me in general. So bringing back those old-fashioned traditions, and even though for me, I believe family is not just only blood. I believe family is more or less a community of people that you choose to spend life with. So if, you know, I have a friend come by, I'm like, hey, this is Uncle so-and-so.
Right.
This is not Mr. No, this is Uncle so, because honestly, I don't bring people just around my family.
Right.
You know, and she's the same way. This is auntie, this is sis, this is whoever you want to call it. And
Cousin Micah.
Right.
That part.
Right, that part. Right.
Well, one thing I don't think we didn't really explicitly say. So when we were dating earlier on, right, neither one of us had TVs by that time.
Right.
So when we were together, yes, we were talking. We bought a bunch of conversation cards. We would go through them. Like, again, we
Shout
were
out
just
to the conversation cards.
Yes,
Highly
they're still
recommend
great.
as
That's-
I recommend.
look,
I think they're great.
They came in clutch.
I'm trying to tell you. And so we really got to the root of we had conversations that people probably don't have for months. So when we were like dating for maybe a couple of months, it felt like we had known each other for like over a year at
Talking
that
about
point.
intentionality.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
That's all we were doing. We were either doing the conversation cards, talking, watching sermons, talking about that.
Right.
But we didn't have the TV as a distraction early on. And then once we brought our kids into it, same thing. We were intentional. We were spending time letting them kind of bond together, all of us trying to get used to one another. Right. We would just play. We would go out.
Right.
It was real simple, basic things.
Wow.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
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 You know what's crazy? I think because you're talking about compatibility, I feel like people often confuse good compatibility with similar or like competency. Would you agree?
Or astrology.
Or that part.
Listen,
That.
let's not even, we can go there.
Look,
They be like, "Oh, you a Scorpio?
there ain't
no,
a zodiac
no.
sign in the world or in the sky that can match up with your boy. Okay, God did His thing.
I know that's right.
and that's it. People are like, it ain't supposed to work. Well, it does.
I know that's
Exactly.
right.
But I think there's a beauty in like the differences where it's just like, you said it, where it's like a lot of people think compatibility is how much do we have in common. That will dictate if we're a good match or not.
Right.
But it's like, it's really not. It's the areas, like you said, where you're weak. Does he help you succeed
Yes.
and make you better? Because I'll be honest, there's been moments in conversation where like he's telling me all the stuff going on. I'm like, man, that's what's up. Shy got y'all organized and everything. He's like, wait.
You know,
Pause. He's like, that's me.
that's him.
He's like, that's my role in this.
That really
You
is.
know? And I
Wow.
think it's cool because you're such a professional too, where it's like, I think it's easy for people to be like, oh, she got it all together. What else does she need?
Yes, I do. Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying? It's
So
like,
boy, listen. He helps me because a big part of being together, right? You want someone that's going to help you be better. And sometimes
Absolutely.
people do have that thought that like what could be added to my. Are you kidding me? I'm a wreck. I'm a mess. But what he does bring, he keeps me together,
Yeah.
right? I will procrastinate because, again, introvert, I might get anxious about stuff. I will put it off. I don't want to do it. Avoid this man. He's like, oh, I got to do this. I'm doing it right away. I don't want to do that. But he's like, hey, let's just get it done. So I'm much more efficient. I'm much more effective and productive because of him. This is so true. He will not let me play around. He'll not like, hey, you said you wanted to do this. Where you at on that? Where's your progress on this goal? So he holds me accountable. And I appreciate that.
there you go.
So yeah, I could not be a lot of who I am without. He supports a lot of what we're doing, right? So we compromise a lot. We have to, like, we're still individuals. We're not the same. Yeah, so you're saying, like, a lot of people think I have it all together. There's not much that can be added, but like, I procrastinate. I get anxious. I don't like doing a lot of things. But Dre, because he is on it, he's organized. He makes sure stuff gets done when it needs to be done. So he holds me accountable. He makes sure that I get the things done that I need to get done. I'm not playing around. I'm not avoiding it. Right. Or if I have a goal that I say I'm working on, he supports me. He's like, hey, I'm checking in. Did you do such and such today? You said you was going to do that. I'll be like, no. Okay, I'm about to go do it. So, yeah, he's definitely supportive and keeps me together because it's a lot. Yeah. Like, life is a lot. It's all over the place. And he brings that structure in so that I can then be effective as a partner, as a parent. So.
And I think what works best for us is, like, honestly, understanding that the things that we're compatible off of is really the things that we're willing to compromise at. Like you know, I don't know if I said that right, but when, for instance, a good example with non-negotiable, no TVs allowed in the master bedroom, right, where we sleep at. She likes a bat cave, you hear me? Right? And I'm a stickler. I like football, I like basketball, I like, you know, and all of those are fall sports when it gets dark early.
So that means she's going to bed
early. So I'm like, okay, how can we get around this? You know, I don't go to bed early. I'm not tired. So what we talked about easily is, hey, well, are you okay with me just watching the tablet in the room, and I'm still spending time with you, or I'm cuddled up with you, and then by the time you fall asleep, you know, you roll over, and I still got my tablet and I'm watching it. Yes, it's just that simple. Clear, open communication. You know,
I mean, mind you, I don't want to give people it doesn't always go that smoothly.
Right.
Now,
yeah,
we disagree, right? But we don't let it linger or last long. We figure it out because we know at the end of the day, like, look, we in this, we love each other. Let's figure this out.
Right. Blood in, blood out.
That part. Listen, you got to die out of this. Like, there's no other way out. We're gonna fight through this.
Right. I just want to say, for whoever's listening or watching out there, one thing that I think about when I reflect on Dre and Shy's relationship is how Dre, at one point, I remember him not wanting to be upfront and honest with where he was at in life, because he was just like, a woman like Shy is not gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything I'm gonna tell her about myself is a red flag. And it's amazing to see and hear, like, what God was doing on the other side and what he continued to do on the other side. So I don't know who's this for, but be honest. You know, don't try to pretend to be somebody else to get somebody or something that you want. It's like, be yourself. If it's in God's will and his plan for it to happen, you're only robbing yourself by lying. Like, you're really only tricking yourself. Like, I was thinking the other day, not to preach on it too much. I'll try to keep it short. But, you know, Bishop. Abraham several times, this God gave him a promise, and he kept lying about his wife being his sister, because he's like, they're going to kill me if they know the truth. And every time God was like, hey, I got you.
Right.
Why? I mean, he didn't really mess with him for lying, but at the same time, you could kind of like read the story and see where it's like, man, if he had just told the truth, God's promise still came to fruition. So be real with yourself. It doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what background you have, what you're bringing into a relationship, or what you're bringing into the stage of life that you're in. Just be honest, especially if you're going to bring somebody else into your world.
Thank you for
sharing.
And
that's on a good relationship, you know, romantic relationship or friendship, or anything like that.
Relational in general.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for Dre and Shy for coming through.
Thank you for having us.
You know, y'all official fam of the Be Real fam.
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Of course. Thank y'all. Yeah, this has been wonderful. I learned some things. I had some things I can put in my pocket and take back and,
yes, sir.
and use.
Same
hopefully.
Here.
Maybe.
Even as old married, you know, people like me.
Old grizzled married folk. This was good for a little bit of everybody, I think.
Yeah. Deacon Will, can you close us out?
I would be happy to. I would be happy to. Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for this opportunity to create content that brings you glory and hopefully informs, educates, and inspires the watchers and listeners. Lord, we pray a special blessing over Dre and Shy. Thank you for their willingness and obedience to you to sacrifice and put aside time to be with us today. We know they are busy folks, and they just have a wonderful story, and their hearts and their minds, the stories that they brought today really have uplifted me, and I'm sure uplifted all of the watchers and listeners. And so, Lord, we pray this content be packaged and delivered to the right people at the right time. And finally, God, we recognize that you made relationships. Relationships are good, and you designed them strategically and intricately for your glory. And so, Lord, we pray that you guide us and show us how to navigate relationships in a way that is in alignment with what you have taught in your word and how you originally intended for relationships to be. And so, Lord, thank you. We love you. We praise you. And all God's people said, amen.
Before he starts singing, we go get out of here. We'll see y'all next time on the Be Real Podcast.